Well, greetings. Yeah, we'll try to do this weekly, see how things go. This is a UFO discussion. Tonight we're going to be talking about, different alien species, and we have a kind of a schedule of who we want to talk about in a certain degree. So for right now, let's start with the Greys. How about that? And we're going to go into the Men in Black and Anunnaki and Archons over time, just to give you an idea where this is going. So we're going to give our different perspectives. Right now, I'll give mine a little bit of the Greys. If it wasn't for Greys, I wouldn't be channeling. When I started, I had interest in it. I felt the Zetas around me, like 3 or 4 of them, in a higher dimension. They were above me. And when I finally went through the channeling, as for using a meditation, I channeled my spirit guide first, and then I channeled the Zeta. That's called J-Rod. Is not his name, but J-Rod just seems to work out pretty good. Someone else gave him that name since I know it works. And some are kind of wondering about how Greys are and like disinformation, all that. The ones I connect to just want to, they don't come through very often, but they do just want to help humanity. They're not talking about saving the world or anything like some others are doing. I'm not sure what. I don't keep track of what others are saying, but the ones that come through me are just want to assist in little ways. They don't tell me a lot about themselves either. Some of them are around Mars, I feel, but they've been quite quiet. They are around me, but they do stay pretty quiet. So. As for information on, like I said, they don't really give me a whole lot of detail. I just know that they're the least group I'm connected to doesn't want any drama or anything like that. So, as for some are channeling other Greys, talking about a queen having a baby and stuff like that, I don't know anything about that. The Greys that come through me don't do anything like that. So anyway, I want to put my 2 cents in. That's about it. They are around the Men in Black here and there. Like the ones I connect to, I just feel they're just a group on their own. They don't really go into full detail. They don't feel like it's important, but we'll see how things go over time. So, all right, Joe, you want to throw in your 2 cents?
Yeah, that's similar. The Greys, they don't really tell me a bunch about themselves, but when they're around me, they mostly comment on my thought processes, things I'm thinking about. They want to understand it. From what I've observed from them, there's different types, and some of them are very robotic, very logical. There's not much emotion there, and they kind of even move like robotic-like. And I've seen the tall ones with the little ones. The little ones seem to be like robotic-like. The tall ones, there's a little bit. I wouldn't call it like much emotion, but they can understand better, it seems. Or at least the ones I've seen. And then I consider the Yale Greys too, but they're hybrids. Those ones I can identify with a lot more. They understand emotion a lot more. And I've spent 24 years with a few of them around, so I understand them as well as I can. They're still, but I can relate emotionally to them, it seems. And what other ones? Then there's these other ones. They're called Grails, I think, and they have the highest degree of emotion that I've seen. I woke up once and they were in my room, like a foot away from my face, going through my stuff, and I could feel what it felt, and I felt compassion from it. So those ones, they have a high degree of emotion from what I can tell. And the Zeta reptilians, those ones I haven't had any good experiences with them. I know there's some good ones out there, but I unfortunately have not met any that I remember. They've taken me before along with reptilians, and they're not very nice. But as far as they just mostly comment on what they observe and my thought processes and things like that. They don't tell me much about themselves, just what I've observed. So.
Yeah, cold seems to be coming back here and there for some reason. Yeah, every time I think it's gone, it's sticking around. So, excuse me, pardon my dust. I have connected to Zeta reptilians, and they seem to be quite humorous. At least the ones I've connected to. The air can be quite vicious also, but the ones I connected to are they're kind. But you do get kind of an idea of their collective is not exactly, it has a reptilian agenda, but they have their own agendas. But other thing I want to mention is the Zetas I connect to are connected to, about emotion. They're not emotion. Yeah, they don't have any emotion. They have some, but they have a humor too. So they do have some kind of sense of humor, but it doesn't really come through the channelings, but I do feel some of their humor, their compassion. I feel some of that also here and there. But they are connected to AI, and what I do get from them is AI worlds I've been involved with as a Zeta, working on humanoid AIs, cyborgs, like an AI world where they look like us, but they're robots, like Data in Star Trek, something like that. Different skin, of course. But there are AI worlds where androids are living their lives, going, doing stuff, and Zetas are around monitoring and stuff like that. So that I do feel much involved. And like I don't think I ever mentioned like the RoboCop movie. I think I've had lifetimes as something like that. So that's what I get from the Zetas. I get more AI information I get about them. So what I get from the Zetas are just, they're creating and they're analyzing, and that's what I get. That's a version. So it was like an AI Zeta group, is what. And also it came through past channelings about Zeta 1, where they were doing all these experiments, excuse me, and they just destroyed their world, basically. They just intoxicated it. So Zeta 2, I think there's also a Zeta 3. Zeta 2, I think, is doing a lot, but that's where the hierarchy, the tall grays are. That's some information I get. So, of course, I can't remember everything. So I don't know if you want to chime in on anything, AI or anything. It's up to you.
Yeah, I've had experiences with there's cyborgs, there's AI, and there's different types. I met ones with they had yellow skin. They didn't look much different than us, except the heads were bigger, and they were accompanied by short little Zetas. And I did get some information through channeling about them. They speak a trinary language. These cyborgs, I think they were, but they speak, it's similar to like a dolphin language, some kind of trinary language, along with I think they have some components of telepathy. At least they can interface with it, because that's how they were being, I don't know if they were being controlled or just communicated with the Zetas around them. I don't know exactly how that works, but I've met those ones. Those are the only ones I met with Zetas, but I have met other artificial intelligences. The other ones I met, they were kind of looked similar to Transformers, only they didn't transform into anything. They were just, they didn't transform, and they were completely machine-like. They wanted to study emotions. They thought they could get power from emotional beings, and they were trying to find out how. And I've had other experiences, but I don't remember much. So,
Cool. Yeah, just to let you know, we're just kind of winging this a little bit, just going through subject to subject. Another one is, unless you want to go into the AI again, you can always go back to another subject as we go forward. So about going to the Men in Black a little bit, because Zetas and Men in Black seem to be, we'll probably do a whole hour on that, but the Men in Black, from my connections, at least the ones I'm connected to, aren't fully, they're neutral. The one I connect to is neutral. They find this, if you're going to connect to them, they're kind of like the reptilians. It's like, okay, we'll explore this as long as you're not judging us. That's the feeling I get. I don't judge them. I just connect to them and see what they have to say. I'm not, calling them bad or anything like that. So the one that comes through, Agent N, that's what Stephen mentioned, Agent N. and Agent N came through. As for if that actually Agent N, I have no idea. There's another one. They have a sense of humor. It's twisted too. But there is a girl on YouTube. This is a while ago. Talked about the Men in Black before I started connected to them, about how they use Zeta technologies, and the Zetas were kind of screwing around with them. I do feel some of that, but I think the Men in Black are using more Pleiadian inner technologies now. They use Zeta only when they have to, but I do feel like they are reptilian controlled. It does feel like it's underground, and there's a thing on the internet about the Justice Department that's in Washington D.C., where there's a story of they saw two men in black. Kind of strange. You kind of get a vibe from them. They're just walking through the Justice Department, so I do believe they have some connection to the Justice Department, mostly underground. I believe they do walk through us, to walk around us in public, but they do show up and disappear also. So they go to another dimension basically. I do believe there are more Pleiadian, but they probably have Zeta also. I think it's mostly Pleiadian, but it's a combination of a different. And of course, there's several different kinds. There's females, males. And there are also some that are bald. I don't know if the Agent N's bald. It doesn't matter. It was like a Ken doll because they're right here. I can feel their presence right now. So they're curious. They're just, there's different kinds of them, but I believe they have an open ear. That's why they can come through. But as long as you're not, if you do fear, they're gonna bring you fear, just like any other reptilian being. So I think there is a positive side to them, and they're curious. And the more we connect to them in a positive way, I believe they're more than welcome for that. They do know the inside of everything. They just don't mention it, of course, for many reasons. None of our business. Well, I'm kidding. So, okay, you want to go for what you?
Yep. Yeah, I've met them a few times actually. They can actually be they're not very talkative, but they did answer a few of my questions. Like I asked them about Agartha underneath the earth and the inner earth, and they just said yes, it exists, of course, but they don't go into detail. They're very direct and short when they answer me. And they mostly asked me questions about what I thought about aliens and what my relationships with them were. Like, do I consider them my friends, my enemies? What do I think about them? And the one time I did get a look inside of their car, and their car, it was all illuminated with this weird blue light inside the car. It was very strange. I didn't get a very good look. I just looked in the window because they met me in a parking lot and they blocked my car in. So I went up to the window and I looked in, and what I saw was just blue light illuminating the interior, like on the floor. And I just made it very brief with them because they wanted me to get in the car, and I'm nope, not getting in the car with you. It's a bad idea. So, but I did meet with them a few times, and they can be very intimidating. Like, they were upset because I found out who they were. And I could just feel their energy. It's like my heart was going to beat out of my chest and things like that. Started sweating. And they wanted to intimidate me, and they can be very intimidating. But you can also, they could be pleasant. They're not very much of a conversationalist, but they are different. But they never hurt me or anything like that. So I can't really say anything too bad about them other than what I know about them, which is they do exist for suppression, and they help control planet by cleaning up any evidence and intimidating witnesses if they have to and things like that. But not all of them agree. They're heavily controlled by reptilian groups and even our shadow government to an extent. So, a lot of them don't agree with it, and they would, if they could do something else, they would. The one that talked to me, I didn't understand it at the time, and he was telling me, he's like, I really wish I could have a family. And I'm like, well, why don't you? You're free to go do that. And he didn't answer me. But so I kind of felt bad for them after that. So they're not all bad, but their purpose is definitely problematic for disclosure and things like that. But it's only because they're controlled. Some of them want to be free and have free will, but right now they don't have much of it.
Yeah, it's interesting. When they come through there, like when I go to the theme parks, and I just feel their energy is like, okay, come on through. Sure, why not? Give us our MIB update. And it can be kind of snarky. You can say channeling is another way for them to vent and give people their perspective. So when they come through. So yeah, I do feel it there. Yeah, they can't have a family. They can't have anything. Everything seems like controlled. If they go get a drink of coffee or whatever, it seems like that's controlled also. So as long as they do what they're told. So I think we're controlled. So anyway, next one. Might as well go to the Archons. You brought up them. Well, I'll go through that a little bit again. Some see them as this might not be a very long segment, as like the Borg. Yeah, they can't, and I agree with that. They can't. They're not here. I don't know if they're here physically or not, but they use us to, like, it's sort of like they screw with our timelines to to see what happens. And I had a message, like those are in the Gothic communities or under Archon timelines. It's maybe not all of them, but they're all wearing black, and they're just in the Gothic temples, castles, and things of that sort. There's very Archon energies. There's probably a lot more. I think also gargoyles, my feeling, has been manipulated by the Archons also, because I don't think that gargoyles are that scary looking. Oh, I think they have a sort of a positive purpose, but it's been reversed from what my feeling is on it. So, as many things are here in our reality, I do see some of them as a butler, like, but they're serving themselves. Yeah, and but they're just warning through us. I believe they're on ship, but they're mechanical, but I don't know if they're spiritual. But there's stories like if you, to get away from them, to not incarnate through their timelines, is to go through Agartha, go through the fairy world. Another thing about zetas is that they're channeling, or it wasn't through my channels or someone about zetas have some of them have fairy energy, which you look at them, you can say they do look like little fairies, little weird looking ones, but they're a combination of different things, just like us. The Archons are mysterious, but they do influence a lot of our cultures, and they just I don't think they look at it in a negative way. They just want to see what happens. It's like a maze, and you just want to see what you do in that maze. So it does seem like also that people that are prone to violence are part of the Archon and their manipulations, from my feeling of it. So let's put it this way. I just got a vibe, like the adult entertainment world, not all of it, some of it is Archon. Let's put it that way. Always influences here and there. That's just a vibe I just got. So, well, let's put it this way. I see strip clubs. So I'm not sure about the porn industry, but definitely strip clubs. So just to get you an idea. At least the drama that goes on with all that is Archon influence. At least that's the vibe I just got. So anyway, all right, you want to go?
You may have just changed my opinion of Archons. I didn't know that. But I don't really know much about Archons other than the stuff I've read. I've probably met them, but I don't remember. All I know about them is they work through people. Sometimes they manipulate people to do certain things, and they use people pretty much. That's what I understand from it. But I never met gargoyle people, but where I'm from, there's a lot of people that have sighted creatures that look like gargoyles in the city. They jump from rooftop to rooftop and wings, the whole ugly face. But it's never hurt anybody. It's just kind of like a little legend from where I'm from. But people still see it to this day at times, and that's all I know about gargoyles. From what I've heard, it's never hurt anybody. So there's also there's bat people. They look just like big bats. Some of them are 10 feet tall. Some of them are like regular human height. They're very secretive, very, not many people meet them. They're very obscure. They don't tell you much about them, but they have a sense of humor. They made a joke the one time I talked to them about Halloween or something. I didn't really understand it, but they do have a sense of humor, as far as I can tell. But they coat you with saliva, like they did that to me. They coated me in saliva. They were trying to help me, to heal me or something, but I could smell them. I'll never forget what they smell like. It smells very weird, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting about the bat people. Yeah, the gargoyles. Yeah, I don't feel them as bad at all. Of course, they're seen as scary, at least on the. Does seem like their energy is being slightly manipulated on the cathedrals to some degree, and yeah, the cathedrals are as a manipulation energy. I believe if you just look at pictures of cathedrals, at least in Europe, probably here too in America, it does seem kind of eerie. So anyway, the Gothic cathedrals. Move on to the Anunnaki. I'll give you my perspective of it. Before I started channeling, I was connecting to different aliens through my energy. You know, just like you're connected to anybody else, and just download whatever comes through. And then sometimes you're wondering, am I getting this right? Da, da, da. It's like maybe if I should channel this thing, maybe I'll feel more comfortable with it. Either way you do it, it will work fine, I believe. There might be some manipulations, but you just gotta just go with it. When I saw one of Human Colony's video. This was way back a couple of years when Max and Jim were doing a channeling, and Max asked about the Anunnakis, and the message was, "Yeah, they're still here." It's like, oh, that's interesting. Anunnaki. Never thought about them. So I remember I was in Lakeland. I remember when it happened. So if the Anunnaki is here, let's see if I can tap into it. So I tapped into it, and I felt this right next to me. This tall, like, I don't know how tall it was. It was huge. It was Anunnaki, and I felt his energy right next to me. I don't know if it was standing next to me, but I was like, I cannot believe it. It's like I felt it. It was so alive. It just, I think it was just the energy of it, but either way, it was. And I saw in Project Camelot how she said that people in the secret space program have seen Anunnaki. I don't know what they look like, not really, but I think they do look humanoid. But some do look reptilian also, from my feeling. But she said that secret space program that people have seen Anunnaki, about 9-foot tall Anunnaki, and that 9-foot tall sounds about right. The Anunnaki I connect to is positive. I see why people are weary of them. I've been Anunnaki in many lifetimes, maybe more than I realized. And while I was connecting to this, I felt Hillary Clinton's energy as Anunnaki also. So I've seen her stuff, and I definitely did see her in Atlantis. To go into that, this is not part of the Anunnaki, but I did see her in Atlantis as this beautiful princess, and nobody was listening to her. I don't know if she was a princess, but anyway, nobody was listening to her. She wasn't exactly the most nicest person either, and so she's kind of like bitter. So now we're feeling her rage. So that's my connection to Hillary Clinton, and that's to the Anunnaki. And somehow I know all that from, anyway. There's probably a lot more to it than that, but I do feel more connected to Anunnaki more. Before I wasn't really looking into it that much, but I do feel a part of them as part of the Illuminati. A lot of it is part of the manipulations. And the negative I don't want to connect to, but it's not very, it is just dark, and I want to call like slimy in some regard. It's very manipulating, very, it feels like they're inferior to, you're inferior to them, and just they feel like they're the greatest creation ever. My feeling of it. And they're but the positive ones, when I want to fix a lot of the problems here. They do feel for humanity, and they're here to repair a lot of the damage. And I do feel a lot of Anunnaki on Mars and here on the moon and probably other places. Nabru, I think it's called, is around here somewhere, definitely hidden somewhere. But the more I feel the Anunnaki, I do feel their heart. They might be part of they are part of the awakening process, definitely. So I do believe a lot of them are humanoid, but they can shapeshift also. So anyway, and some of that inbreeding, like marrying your daughter and your sister, and having kids, that's probably very Anunnaki. I heard that from Barbara Messiniak, I think, and I was like, I don't know, they don't tell me that stuff. Them, they could be more from the negative version. I'm not sure, but anything's possible with that. So it has to go somewhere. Yeah, that's about all I have for that.
Yeah, the Anunnaki. Well, yeah, I've had a lot of past lives with them and things. I don't like them. They're the most arrogant beings I've ever met. They're very manipulative. I just don't like them. Every time they're around, it feels like my whole body's on fire. And they're very egotistical. That they think they're better than you, but there are good ones. They're a small group. From the information I got, there are about like 100,000 of them. They're like a split away group. They're positive. I don't get that feeling around them. They're all right, but the large majority of them, I do not like them because I've had past lives with them, and I'm basically just tired of their attitude. They're elitist, arrogant, egotistical, and I don't prefer to be around them. But there are good ones out there, which they're all right. But I usually don't connect to them. I try not to anyway.
Yeah, I feel actually female Anunnaki, and they do look humanoid. So that's where I'm feeling the compassion from. The males, I don't know. It's kind of.
Well, the positive ones, yeah, they're all right. They sympathize with us, and they do regret things, and they have a different way of thinking than the majority of them. So they actually will help you and won't try to manipulate you, but they have a different energy to them. It's not an oppressive, manipulative, egotistical energy. It's more like they're there as they try to portray themselves as an equal to you and things like that. They have a whole different way of speaking and thinking. That's why they're not part of the main portion of Anunnaki anymore.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Days of our lives. We're not the only ones with problems, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's a big galactic soap opera. It really is.
It's like Star Wars, but Star Wars.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple of them that came to mind. This one of the Nordic, the tall blondes are coming through. The Nordics, there's a difference between, at least my perspective, I believe that's the right, yeah. The tall blonde Nordics, I'm part of that group, along with others, of course, but they're part of a different agenda than the regular Pleiadians. They are Pleiadian, but they're different. They have a different agenda altogether. They are engineers. They do engineer different species, and there's different stories about that they create life here. I think they're very much involved with it, of humans being brought here, as that being probably the felines had involvement also, but it seems like the Nordics are. Obviously, they have a negative energy around World War II. In World War II, about the Nordics being worshipped, and yeah, they have a lot of issues there. A lot of wars within their own society. So that I was at a conference. I didn't attend it very long, but I could feel the Nordics around me. They're just feeling bad because some of their family is very negative to humans here. So they're going through a lot of healing of their own race. But I'm feeling more male and female. Usually it's been mostly male, I guess, because the females sometimes get like become target practice for the reptilians. This is a message I got from somebody, so it's possible for that. You know, they want to draw all this attention so they leave the women at home. But I do believe the females do come here. They do help with relationships. They do help with many things. The government, there are the black projects, the Nordics are all involved with that in the positive sense, not necessarily the negative. In the positive, there's positive and negative, of course, but the positive senses I'm getting. Some of us have aspects there right now with the shadow governments trying to bring the ascension process. And I just got a message about Trump as some sort of Nordic connection there also, obviously. So there's some of that there also. So I believe they're here to enhance the human race as much as they can, but they can, you know, telepathically connect to you, but they're busy here, that's for sure. They have a ground crew here, but it's not seen. But they can walk around among us, definitely. I'm not sure for how long, but they can. They don't give a whole lot of information, but it does seem like they are assisting us greatly. And I do see them move around quickly. Like they're at one place, and they're over here. They're just zooming all over the place. So they're very ADD. And I also got a message. I'm not sure of how this is fictionalized or what, but I do see them changing their form to look more like us and mingle with us, just so they can. I'm not sure what that was about, but I did get a vibration of that. So they can show up as themselves, but also they can change their form, you know, their look altogether, so they can definitely blend in with us. You know, have the fanny pack or whatever some people wear, you know, just or whatever business suit or something. I imagine they can. I do see like a lot of their presence is in New York City, but it's other places, of course. That's about. That's basic right now. Yeah, if you have anything.
Yeah, I've had a few experiences with the Nordic people. They were always nice to me, so I like them. I never met a negative one. They're out there, but I've never had any connection with them, as far as I know. But the one I met, they're big, they're tall, like a big, huge, muscly, long blonde hair. It's the one I met. He was probably 10 feet tall, about that. But he was real nice. And then I did see the females once, only once. They came to visit me when I was in the hospital. There was 2 males. They were accompanied by 2 males and then 2 females, and they were surrounded my bed. And that's the only time I've ever seen the females. But yeah, they're tall, they're blonde hair, they're very, very attractive. So, and that's the only experiences I've really had with them. But I liked their energy, and they were nice to me. So.
Remember, in astral, we all look like we all have abs, and we're all perfect teeth, and we all look great. Just to let you guys know. And here we're all just falling apart and look flabby. So anyway, an astral and our other side, things of that sort. So, and they don't have to work out. I don't know what they do. It's one heck of a diet they have there. So, the next one I'm feeling is Arcturians. Even Arcturians, I don't get a whole lot of what they look like. Some people have seen visions of them. I just get like they're kind of like kids. I mean, they're very intelligent, of course, but they're like little people. They do float around. They're in 5th density, maybe 6. They have a good humor about them. There's some that people have known where they've had through their own channelings, where Arcturians have like advanced technologies like no other being has much advanced technology. So if you're like a reptilian race trying to take over this world, once the Arcturians come in, it's game over. That is the message I received from somebody else. But I've also had messages about how the Greys would attack the Arcturians and not care what happens. Like they'll just like pray, like a kamikaze would. I believe there have been Grey and Arcturian wars like that, where they just crash right into them, something like that, just to get knowledge. some of the grays can be very, you know, they're just they're out for knowledge and they don't care what happens to anybody. So very much like humans. But as for the Arcturians, though, they're very peaceful. I see them going through walls. You know, they just very kind. They have superior knowledge. As for if they have all the knowledge, I'm not sure. They do have different colors. Some of them are blue, green, but I don't really get a visualization. You know, I connect to I am, and he's very like a wise, I get like a shaman from Tibet is a feeling I get from I am. So not judgmental at all. Very spiritual. They're all spiritual. When I first started channeling, this is interesting. I channeled a young Arcturian, and he looked human, and I felt his classmates around me. That was neat, and they look human though. So there are some Arcturians that have Pleiadian energies. So I never channeled a kid ever again. That was like an experiment. It was pretty neat, but I have not channeled anything like that since. So that was cool. That's about. It's about what I have. You want to go?
Yeah, the Arcturians, I did meet them in astral once that I remember. I'm sure I met them more, but they look sort of like grays, but the eyes are different. They're black, but they're not as big, and they're not upturned. They're turned different like ours. And they remind me of if you gave a kid too much coffee. But they're very, very wise. They're very spiritual and very advanced technologically too. But yeah, they're the one I saw anyway was a female, or at least she portrayed herself as one, and she was orange, about 3.5, 4 feet tall, zeta looking, but orange, and black eyes. And she was there. She said she was there to help me heal or something, and she was very nice. But that's really the only memory I have of them.
Okay. I kind of jumped around a little bit. There's the Pleiadians. No, there's different types. I'll give you what. I don't always get visualization, but what I get from the Pleiadians, there's some that look just like us. I believe some of them are blue and orange and yellow and different types. But I don't get a full detail of all that. Now, I connect to Ishtar as the blue Pleiadian. The way I see a blue Pleiadian, at least the one I channel, he's bald. He does have like blue light skin. And they do have, obviously, the one that Lakesh at Jim channels is a little one, but the one I'm channeling is a humanoid, looks just like us, but bald. Obviously, a higher density. And I believe they're just seeing what we do, basically. Well, I mean, they're here assisting us, but they're letting us run the show. They can't interfere too much right here, right now. But they don't really give me details of what they look like or anything like that. There's the silver Pleiadians. Also, those are hilarious. At least the ones I've connected to are freaking hilarious. And those are kind of rare, but they seem to be kind of a mischief group, but not in a bad way. Some of them can be a little bit too much in some regard. They have a lot of power. The Pleiadians seem to be very similar. Might have less fingers than us. They might have 4. You know, they just have a different way of looking at things. It's like a bunch of hippies, basically. And our hippie movement is probably very Pleiadian. You know, love and you know, have a bunch of children and just take it easy. That was the difference between. Now, not all Pleiadians are lazy. A lot of them just have different agendas. The Nordics, the tall blondes seem to be workers. Just they work. Of course, they do take it easy, but the Pleiadians seem to have a different, more laid back, but they still work, but they just have a different way of doing things. But they don't really show themselves very much. But the blue ones, I believe there's blue ones, green ones, yellow ones, and the blue ones are the ones that like Era, for example, look like us. But I believe there's other felines there and other beings there also. That's my feeling on it. So that's very humanoid. So okay, Joe, you want to go for it?
Yeah, I've met the Pleiadians and Astral many times. They look. I see them just very similar to us, but the ones that stand out were the blue ones. These were the short blue ones. They're very stocky, wide, but not very tall. I think they had 4 fingers, but they're like stubby fingers. Anyway, when I met them, they took me down this elevator on some planet, and he had like a gold chain around his neck and it was some device, and they took me down to the bottom level, and they sat on oversized stone chairs, and that's the last thing I remember. But they were interesting looking. They were very stocky, short, blue, black eyes. These ones anyway. But there's a variety of different Pleiadians. There's a ton of them. They have different color skins, and most of the ones I see, they don't look different from us. So
Yeah, my feelings they look pretty much identical to us. I mean, some have 5 fingers, some might have 6 fingers. It's just yeah, they use their minds most. From what I'm feeling right now, they say I can almost teleport in your mind. But they use a lot of telepathy, of course, but just a different point of view, of course, than ours. As for their cultures, are totally different. The next one was, of course, I already forgot. What was it? They just left my mind. Great. Oh yeah, the Wirrans, the felines. Now there's different felines all across, galaxy or the universe. And they're not all called Wirran. It does seem like when I was starting to connect to them, some lions felt. I believe most of the Wirrans are lion, but and the tigers and the leopards are offshoots. Is a feeling I'm getting from the Wirrans at first. Like through Jim, I didn't know it was a lion to begin with. It was a feline with the cur. I didn't know she was a lion, but the more I'm doing this, yeah, it feels like more of the Wirrans are lion-like, but maybe not all. But I get really scattered details, but I do feel like the tigers are another different branch of the Wirrans. Maybe that's it, because the Wirrans that ones I see are mostly lion, and they've been through a lot of wars. A lot of like the reptilians wanted to wipe them out, another being wanted to wipe them out. So they've been through a lot. So they're just and they've been scattered across the universe. They all have different points of view now, and a lot of people here have connections to the Wirrans because there's one of the early races of our universe, I believe, or galaxy, whatever we call it, universe. And in the human, now I'm connecting to more pig species. We were definitely more pig than we are feline, always skin wise. We're symboling over everything, it seems. But it does seem like the pigs and the Wirrans had a close connection because I do feel that the Wirrans did. I've had different messages about humanity being created. Like one part was they felt like there might. What if the Wirrans get wiped off the face of the universe? At least they'll have the human as their offspring. That was one of the messages I've received. There was a fear there at one time. They didn't know what was going to happen to them. So, because it does feel like they've been attacked a lot from the back, and just that's why their ears are so big. They have to hear from great distances, and of course those times have changed now. But definitely it was. Yeah, it was not. It was peaceful in the beginning, but it's been kind of rough. Of course, it's peaceful again. It seems to a certain degree. I also felt there are feline worlds we're in that are very difficult, like ours. There are feline, and they might be primitive, probably, but they're just cat people, just trying to get through the day like we are. So that's a visualization I got a long time ago. Oh yeah, also to occur that Jim channels. When I first started channeling, I saw an image of Dekur outside where I live, just like a hologram. It was very faint, but I knew it was her because I could feel her vibration. I didn't go, "Hey, Dekur, what's going on?" I don't think that was appropriate because she was just scoping me out from what I'm feeling. I never asked her about that, but that was pretty cool actually. So they are here. Just if anybody was wondering, at least from my perspective. Okay, Joey, we'll go for it.
Yeah, I don't know if the lion people are technically Lyrians or not, but I call the ones that look like lions lion people, and the cat-like people. I've met a few of them that I remember. Takara always talks to me, but it's strange. I can't remember what she looks like for some reason. But that's the main Lyran I always talk to is her. But I have seen others. One was black, about my height, had ears and a tail, and she was it wasn't totally positive, but it wasn't negative either. It's kind of in the middle. There's good ones, bad ones, someone in the middle, from what I've met. But the experiences with the lion people, they were very honorable from my experiences. Very kind, but also warrior-like. Just the ones that I've come in contact with. Very deep sense of honor and warrior mentality, but also very gentle. So it's a good combination anyway. I like those beings.
Another one, I guess, to wrap this up was one I'm not that connected to. Oh, well, I was going to talk, well, I guess we talk about the Syrians. I was going to talk about the tall whites, but I'm going to talk about the Syrians instead. It seems like our oceans are very connected to the Syrians. Also, a lot of their influences are here, not just through the oceans, but just it feels like we're picking up a lot of their karma. There's some that are incarnating here, at least through past channelings. It feels like that. So their worlds are very similar to ours. They might look different than us. I do see them with Spock-like ears, the pointy ears. They do look. I think a lot of beings are like that, actually. Alpha Centauri is like that too, but they're just they can swim under. I do see cities underwater. They're very Syrian. Some say, somebody connected to, some of them are disconnected from nature, like us. So bringing a lot of their karma here. A lot of them come here to heal. A lot of them are just, some of their wars seem to affect us also, from what I'm gathering. So a lot of their stuff is here right now. Might be also materialism has something to do with it. Another way of healing is to get away from emotion and like relationships and just buy a bunch of stuff and replace it, because some can't seem to get along with other people, and some of that seems like it's from the Syrians. So I do see like underwater cities, just like water worlds. It's the mer people. I believe also the Pleiadians have these things also. But the Syrians are definitely, it does seem like there are the Syrian and Gray Wars also. So I don't know a whole lot of details on that, but definitely the Syrians have been through a lot. But right, a lot of them are connected to the Galactic Federation of Light. The heal are, because they do realize there is a big presence here. There's definitely, maybe half our media is Syrian. It's possible. Like I've said before about the medical field here, it does seem like it's Syrian. The Syrian energy is here for positive and negative. So there's a lot of entities that are helping us, but the Syrians have just been through a lot. There's very advanced worlds in this with Syrians, very advanced, very positive, and there's some that just still can't get it together, just like us. So it does feel like a lot of influences is here, that's for sure. All right, yeah, Joe, you want to go for it?
The Syrians, yeah, I know they're connected with the dolphins and the oceans, and the ones I've connected with, I saw, like, I had like this dream of them, and it was a long time ago. They were like these group of them anyway were like a tribal people. I think they had technology, but they were kind of like also very spiritual. They were jumping around a fire at night, and they were doing this chant for whatever reason, I don't know, but that's what they showed me. And then after that, I started to remember them being one of them in the Orion Wars, way back. And I know I was also told that I had another aspect or incarnation or something as a Syrian, but I haven't connected with that yet. So it's just what they've showed me so far, which isn't much. Just that at one point in time they were spiritual and technological. These ones were still connected to nature. They were like I said, just dancing around, like sort of like they reminded me of Native Americans, but they didn't look like them. They didn't look like them at all. But that's just the impression that was left on me afterwards. They were, still connected to nature, but they did have technology. They lived in harmony with their planet. These ones, anyway. At that time, I don't know what they're like now. I haven't connected to them, but I remember what they were in the past. At least this group. So that's what I know about them. At least it's limited.
Yeah, another one that's kind of limited. Yeah, because the Syrians, I've been channeling them a lot, and they are red men, but they don't give me a lot of detail of their society. I guess I can channel on that. I don't know if it's all that important, really, but either way, it seems like we're striving to connect to their positive sides right now, their positive aspects right now. It seems like a lot of their influences are assisting us. So this is basically just a briefing on all of these, what our perspectives are. Another one's the tall whites. I don't really connect to them very often. I don't know a whole lot about them. I believe this is my perspective, there's two different versions of them. There's a humanoid, and I see an insectoid version of them. There's also a story, like when some of the tall whites came here. I saw this on the Spirit channel. It's on YouTube. And he was talking about when the tall whites came here, they're kind of scared of humans because of the way how barbarian we are. We're just a lovely bunch. From what I felt from that was more of a insectoid tall white. So I don't know if anyone can connect with that. I don't know. They don't show me what they look like. They are part of the government. I think there's two different types. They're part of the government. Some is positive, some is negative. So it's very secretive also, so I don't know a whole lot. But I think they're just like pale white. They're just like super white from the feeling I'm getting from them. So as for anything else, what their agenda is, I don't really connect to them that much, but they're definitely connected to our government, that's for sure. I think both of them are. At least that's my perspective of it. All right, do you want to go for it?
Yeah, I've never connected to the tall whites. I just know what I've heard. I can't remember the guy's name that I remember he was talking about. What I remember he said though is he worked for the government, and these tall white beings, they were afraid of humans, and they were very protective of them. They've actually killed some humans in defense, and it was misunderstandings and things like that. But yeah, they're not hostile. The ones that I know of anyway, and that's really all I know about them. Is they're very protective, especially over their children. And originally when they came here, they were frightened, just as scared as we would be of them. Well, maybe not as much because they had technology, but yeah, that's about it that I know of.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about them. There's one more for the last one, Andromedans. And yeah, there are different types of Andromedans, humanoid. I can't connect to every being. But yeah, there's different felines. I do feel the feline energy around the Andromedans in the beginning, but I do feel most of the ones I connect to are humanoid. They're very skinny. They do look kind of bluish or whitish, or they could change color or something around. Some are grayish looking. Alex Collier was the first one that brought me, as far as I ever heard of the Andromedans or aliens in general, was Alex Collier. So I never really thought. I wanted to connect to him when I first heard it, but I didn't know you can connect to him spiritually. I didn't know about that. So basically, they do feel like we can affect their reality, but they're very curious, and many of them are here. Their ground crews are here to. Does feel like through music, through arts, through sexual type of, bringing kids into the world, they're definitely involved with that to bring a more positive vibration here. So a lot of the Andromedans are here for that. Just to raise the Earth's vibration, as long as the kids, As long as those are brought into this world, maybe not live a very adventurous life, but live something that has a positive vibration around it does help. So it does seem like the Andromedans are very much involved with that. As for those who are being born here, it seems like a lot of people have a lot of Andromeda energy. Could be the arts, could be just have a love of the arts, or just, of course, everyone listens to music or listens to some. So it does feel a lot of that vibration is there. They are part of the government systems also, but they stay distant to a certain degree from what I'm feeling. But I feel sometimes they're worried about us, where we're heading, but they are very protective of their own species, definitely. So that's about all I have at this moment.
Andromedans. Yeah, I've had past lives with them from what I've understood, but they were actually one of the first beings I've channeled, and I don't really understand my connection to them. And there's so many different species from the Andromeda galaxy. I don't really. It'd be nice if they would call themselves something else, because it's for a wide variety of beings that come from there. So I don't know what to actually say about them, because there's so many different types. The ones I've connected with were similar to the ones that Alex Collier talks about. They're not the same ones, but they were similar. They were human looking, and it was surprising to me because they were kind of militaristic, but they're also very nice, and they were concerned about humanity from what they were saying, the direction that we were headed. And this was years ago. So, but I do believe they're the ones, at least that I've connected with and I have connection to, are positive, and they were concerned about the direction of the planet. And I know at least the United States portion of the shadow government does not like them. I think they're actually banned, if I recall correctly, but I'm not sure about that. But that's pretty much all I have to say about them, because there's just so many different beings from there that they should really start calling themselves something else.
I don't know what they're going to call themselves. I don't know. So anyway, hopefully some of this is somewhat helpful. I don't know. We weren't going into full details on everything. I can't remember everything. Everything has its channel. Usually it's just, the messages that come through, they don't, I'm wearing a hat and I drive a BMW. They don't tell me full details of, and I can't remember everything when they come through. Usually I don't remember. I remember very little usually, if anything. So anyway, hopefully this was helpful in some regard. So you can always make your own connections, of course. And we have a social network, UFOindex.com, that I see is better to be connected to on Chrome. Sometimes Firefox has an issue with that. I'll see what I can do about that. But you can always post what's going on. Of course, you can find me at ivantoler.com for sessions and things of that sort. But definitely the help of the ascension is to tell people about your experiences. It does help. People are always looking for those they can relate to. So however you find a way to do that does help, definitely. Through text, through video, through audio, it does help. All right, Joe, you have anybody want to send anybody to your YouTube channel or?
If you want, yeah, that's all I have is a YouTube channel. I don't have a website or anything. You can find it under the same name as my avatar. So,
okay. All right, sounds good. All right, good night, everyone, and see you later. See you next time.